Milo, is that you?
There, I think I got it.
Hey, Tony.
Yes, sir.
Tony.
Is this Lionel?
Yeah, it's ring. Excuse me, is this the party to whom I'm speaking?
What a classic!
You know
that album. I think that album is called "This Is a Recording," and it was a live performance that Lily Tomlin did around, I think, 1970. And I call it up on Amazon every once in a while, and will play that like at night as I'm going to sleep. And it's so funny how different the world is there, because, you know, the whole thing about Ernestine, her character, is she's a telephone board operator, which you'd have to explain that to somebody now. And then there's all the jokes about the monopoly that the phone company is. Like there's one skit where the phone company's on strike, so nobody has phone service, and how you're at the mercy of the phone company. And it truly, like, as I listen to it, I think, man, that's just, I mean, it's 1970. It's, how many years ago is that now? Is that 50 years ago?
Yeah, I was barely even a baby at that point.
Right. I mean, you wouldn't remember that. I was a little kid at the time, but it just seems like such a massively different world when you think of things. Yeah,
it is. And that was March 1971 that was released.
Oh, well, how about that? I was pretty close.
And it was recorded at the Ice House in Pasadena, California.
Huh.
The album consists of comic sketches of Tomlin and her most famous character, Ernestine, the nosy, aggressive, and sharp-tongued telephone operator. And lately, Lily Tomlin's been on a show with Jane Fonda. What's the show that she's on with now?
It's on Netflix, and I always either get it backwards or the name's not right. It's like Frank and Gracie.
Frankie and Gracie. Frankie and Gracie. I think it's Frankie and Gracie.
And I don't know who is who. And I have watched all of it at various times. My sister and I both enjoy it. But
oh, really?
Yeah, I can never remember the name of it. I'll get a text saying, "Oh, there's a new whatever." I'm like, "Who's that?" And then she has to tell me it's a show with Lily Tomlin and Jane Fonda. Oh, yeah. I have to check that out.
Grace and Frankie.
There it is, Grace and Frankie. Yeah.
The series stars Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin in the roles of Grace and Frankie. I would imagine that Jane Fonda is Grace because she would probably have top billing. And there you go. It's number of season 6, number of episodes 78. I believe our friend, don't tell me, let me guess. Boy, I should know this name. He's been on several times. He's the guy he's the model railroading guy that we're thinking of getting on the show. Burt Gummers. He was dad on
on Family Ties.
Yeah.
Michael Gross.
I think he's on it. Yeah. I think he's had
Oh, yes, he has been. Yeah, I do remember seeing him. He had a guest spot and I can't remember if he was a lawyer or doctor or something, but yeah, he was on an episode.
I got to make a real honest effort to get him on the podcast.
Well, you're not going to outdo what I'm working on, but
no, let's go.
Knock yourself out.
Yeah, let's give it. Can we give a little?
I mean, we can probably talk about it. I mean, we don't have it officially set up.
Yeah.
I've talked to this person, but as the biggest Supertrain fan in the world, I did find contact information, and in the last few weeks spoke with one of the cast members of the classic 1979 TV series Supertrain, and we are working diligently to bring that person onto A Modeler's Life to talk about his experiences on this fantastic TV show, which, as you know, for me, will be, wow.
Yeah. And now should we now talk about the elephant in the room?
The elephant in the room? What scale is it?
The elephant in the room, of course. Let's not kid around. This isn't isn't funny. I only found out about your Supertrain website just a couple of weeks ago.
And see, I don't know how that's possible, because I know I've posted things or shared things before.
You've shared things many, many times. Have you shared things, and many, many times have we talked about Supertrain? But as soon as I opened this website, I said to myself, well, I've never seen this. Like, it didn't have any glimpses of anything that I'd ever seen ever before.
Wow. And see, I thought I'd even like linked over pages on like the Fans of a Modeler's Life or, some of the Facebook pages. But yeah, that's a really old site. I don't think I've done anything with it in probably 10 or 12 years.
And then you even had links to clips on YouTube. And then, of course, I started watching clips on YouTube of Super Train. And I mean, it was the most failed show almost in the history of television. What was it? It made 9 episodes.
Correct. And yes, sadly, it does get saddled with that handle of, in fact, it'll even be exaggerated to the point of nearly took down NBC.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm sure if some of McLean Stevenson or Robert Conrad shows of those years weren't able to, come on now.
Yeah, but Hello, Larry was a classic.
Man, where's the DVD of that? There's so many shows that, I mean, I hold out such hope for that Peacock streaming service of NBC's to finally, bring to me the NBC classics that have been absent from my life. Super Train, BJ and the Bear, Hello, Larry, Sheriff Lobo. I mean, the shows that everyone sits at home at night going through their 200 channels saying, if we just had like that Dean Martin and the Moonshiners episode of The Misadventures of Sheriff Lobo to watch tonight, our lives would be so much better. And we don't. So we got to hope.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, was there anything worse than Hello, Larry? Like, oh my God. I mean, you literally turned it on and you're thinking, did they not watch this before they put it on the air? Like, what are they all sitting in the room? Like, are they all sitting in the room pretending to laugh?
Yeah. Wow. I mean, it was a rough time. It was a rough time for the network for sure. And that was not one of the better moments. No.
All right. Before we get on to the subject of the topic of the day, why are you in particular an NBC fan?
I don't know how that happened. I know as a little kid, after the late news and before the Tonight Show, I can remember the old, this would have been not the 11 feather peacock. It's a 6 feather now. Well, maybe it is. The following program is brought to you in living color on NBC, and the peacock colors would come out. I remember as a little bitty kid before the Tonight Show seeing that, and I don't know, just a lot of the shows that I liked growing up were on NBC. Like when I spent time over at my grandmother's a lot, and she always watched shows like Rockford Files and Quincy, and like the Sunday mystery movies like Columbo and McCloud and Macmillan and Wife and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know, but yeah, and it's interesting. I did a podcast with somebody a couple of years ago that did like an old TV show podcast that found that website on Supertrain. And I had mentioned that at one point that I was an NBC fan, and I was so surprised when he said, I run into that, and NBC tends to be the network that if somebody is a fan of a network, that's the one they're a fan of, that there's not ABC or CBS, but there are people that are fans of NBC. I mean, it was the first network in 1926 on radio, and then because RCA owned them, they were a pioneer in television. So NBC was always kind of a trendsetter. But yeah, I don't know. And for me, I can follow. I don't so much now, but back in the day, just like your baseball team had a schedule that they were playing that season, and this looked good, and they might have to change this or that. I was that way with network TV. So, it'd be like, well, this looks pretty good for NBC this season, but it's going to be tough to beat ABC on this night, but they might have an edge in here on CBS on that night. That was I followed that like some people followed sports.
That's interesting. I always thought that ABC was the sad sack of the three.
They were, and they would not exist if not for NBC, because that was the red and blue radio networks, that the one had to be parted off in some, what do they call those? Like the Paramount decree, where Paramount had to get rid of its movie theaters because you can't. That turned into ABC. So
okay. All right, but that's not one. But we digress.
That's not what we're here for.
No.
On this fine podcasting endeavor.
As we come to the end of another great year.
Well, let's just say a year for the history books.
Yeah. As we come to the end of 2020, Who could have ever guessed? Oh my goodness gracious! What? Nothing could cheer up that. Nothing could bring the end of 2020 to a happy ending than getting that train set at Christmas.
That could be the thing that'll just, it'll keep the whole year from being in the disaster column, is a train set under the Christmas tree.
Yeah, absolutely. And they get some pretty fantastic ones now.
Oh, they most certainly do. I mean, that is one of the things in the last 20 years or so, between the roadbed track systems, the power packs and controllers, the inclusion of sound and some digital operating features even on base sets, that, your typical train set is light years ahead of what it was. And we've got six train sets that we cover in December 2020's Model Railroad News. And all of them were really kind of fun and interesting pieces. I reviewed a couple. I bought 2 Lionel sets, Lionel HO, from our friends at Train World in New York. And then we also have reviews on a Walthers HO and a Bachmann N-Scale. And then Menards, you don't have Menards
Not in
Canada, do you?
Menards isn't even really on the East Coast.
No, it's about 350 stores, and it's mainly in the Midwest. They are Wisconsin-based. But for those that wonder, well, what is a Menards? Menards is like Lowe's or Home Depot, kind of a store, home improvement place. Although I can go there and get everything. I can get Bandit, his absolute favorite squeaky chicken dog toy, which I don't know. In fact, we usually have a few carcasses in the front yard in various states of disrepair that once they've really been picked over, somehow he takes them to the front door and they have to then be taken out, I guess, for their final resting place in the front yard. But the Menards squeaky chicken is a must stop for. Menards carries like food stuff. I can go in there and get frozen pizza, soda, as well as anything you would get at a regular home improvement store. And the neat thing is a lot of these stores do have some seasonal type things that they'll bring in for the holidays. And Menards does have a toy section that they always beef up at the holidays. But Menards has been a real supporter of the hobby, both with O-gauge, like 3-rail trains, and then even HO. And we reviewed 2 of their starter HO sets that were made exclusively for them by Bachmann in that December issue as well. And I think it's so neat, and one of those signs of how well the hobby is doing, that you can walk into a home improvement store like that, and right up front there's a whole stack of train sets, and they have buildings and vehicles, and that, I think it's wonderful that they support our hobby like that. That it would be awesome to see more do it, and I think it's a fun thing.
It would be cool to see more, like for Lowe's or Home Depot or Walmart to make a point of selling train sets, because I bet you that would be a fairly solid seller. I mean, and maybe it wouldn't sell as well as the newest video game, but I bet you there would be a lot of families that would go, hey, let's get our son a train set, or grandma and grandpa would buy a train set, or especially nowadays when you take them out of the box and they run so well.
Exactly. Oh yeah, most certainly. And I know one of the toughest things on the manufacturing side, and if you look, our friend Jason Schron, who runs Rapido Trains, does a column for Railroad Model Craftsman, and I think it's October or November edition. He discusses attempts at, how can you get everything into a train set, hit a price point that would make a major retailer like a Walmart happy in what they would pay you for it and what they think they could sell it for. And it is a challenge, but it can be done. Some places do. These Menards sets sell for about $100, and they're very nice sets. So it's out there. When you think about what you'd spend on an average gift, it is such a neat gift that I think it's well worth it.
I now have 2 questions.
Yes.
Which would you prefer first, a question or?
Let's go with the comment.
Do you remember our very, very first conversation ever together?
Were we at the crap table in Monaco?
Yeah. No.
Oh,
it was.
That must have been. That was Sean Connery.
That's right. It was the safari in West Africa.
Oh, okay.
Our very, very first conversation was arranged by Shane the Young Gun, who hasn't been on the show in a dog's age. You got to say to him, hey, if you want to continue to be an editor here at the old MRN, you're gonna have to, put your name out there and get out there and get your voice out in the airwaves there.
I will ask him about it. I keep him terribly busy, as you can see from some of the breathtaking covers that we've had for Model Railroad News in the last year. So I definitely keep him occupied.
He's very proud of those, and he should as well. He should be.
He should be, yeah. Whenever he does those, and he frames them and hangs them up above his layout, and I always get a picture when he's put a new one up. And yes, that's very cool. I like that. Yeah,
very cool. So, anyways, our very first conversation was arranged by none other than Shane the Young Gun, and he got you so that I interviewed you. I wonder what episode it was. I'm guessing it was probably around the 50s. And so we were talking. It was the first time we'd ever met. As I meet people through the airwaves. And do you remember one of the most poignant questions I asked you as you bring up Menards?
No.
I was very excited because I was talking to the editor of Model Railroad News, which was very exciting for me because I've always, since the mid-'90s, I've been involved in the Model Railroad journalistic side of everything. So it was very exciting for me to meet an editor of a well-run magazine. And we talked about Menards, and you mentioned how, you got train sets, and you even mentioned something about you talked to one of the people at Menards at head office or something about train sets, blah, blah, blah. And I said to you, I said, I said, is there any possibility that you could someday possibly talk to John Menard, the owner of Menards? And you said, well, I have a good rapport with Menards. I have a good rapport with Menards. And I said, well, if you're ever talking to John Menard, could you please put in a good word for me to get me a chance to qualify for the Indy 500? Because for years, decades now, Menards has sponsored cars at the Indy 500. And you were, at the time, I took you as sincere. I thought that you felt like you at least would put a good word in for me to try to qualify for the Indy 500.
And I did. It was the holiday season last year that I got to meet him, and they had not their Indy, but they have a NASCAR.
Yeah.
The NASCAR was at a Kansas City location, and I didn't bring it up.
Oh, my.
Well, it wasn't the right car. They had their stock car there, and I thought, well, I don't want to, then he'll feel bad that he didn't bring the Indy racer if that's what I'm asking about. And so, but it's still on my list. I have it. It's on my list. In fact, I just yellow highlighted it to remind me. So it'll happen.
But also, I'd be happy with, that's another connection for me because Todd Arnett, who has been on the show too, he's a fellow that lives in Charlotte, not far from our buddy Seth Gartner. And he's a very close relationship with a fellow named Todd Gordon, who was the crew chief for Joey Logano, and this year is the crew chief on the Menards car. Maybe that's the direction we go.
There you go, yeah.
If you attack it from your angle,
and
we get Todd Arnett to get Todd Gordon, who is the crew chief for Ryan Blaney, if he attacks it from his angle, and they continually hear my name, and
then you wear these people down, and then it's like, let's just do this and get this done.
And really, if you and we got Todd Arnett, and you guys kept saying the same phrase, I can't believe you guys haven't had Lionel try to qualify for either Daytona or Indy. Just that kind of that subliminal. You don't make a big deal about it. You just say, hey, I can't believe you guys haven't had Lionel try to qualify for the Daytona 500 or the Indy 500.
I think it's got a real shot. Have you got a helmet and everything? I don't know if they supply all that.
Oh, yeah. Well, I got all the gear. I actually.
Okay. All right. I just, I'm worried that when that day comes, I'm going to say, oh, and by the way, and you'll go, oh, I don't have the suit or the gloves and the helmet. And then it's like, well, let's get online and start looking. And what color do you like? And what size do you think your head is for this helmet thing? And do you want the goggles or the thing that slides down, on the front of the helmet? I don't know.
Yeah. Now I got two questions.
Yes.
When you say bandit, are you speaking of Burt Reynolds and his always constant companion Snowman?
No, sadly not. The late, great Burt Reynolds that we lost a few years ago. No. I would, of course, be talking about my little white Chiweenie dog Bandit.
Oh, named after?
No, he's actually named after the dog on Johnny Quest.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Next time I ask you, could you just entertain me? Because, you know,
Oh, would you rather it was that? That's the answer you'd like it to be?
yeah, what a cool name for a dog. And if you had
Yeah.
two dogs, you'd have Bandit and Snowman. I think I'm going to go out and get two dogs.
Or would you have Bandit and Bandit 2?
No, no,
No. No.
no, Bandit and Snowman. That was the original. That's the original set. If you've got that set, that's worth something. All those other sets, it's not worth anything.
I did, someone posted that recently somewhere, and they had a picture of that DVD set that has Smokey and the Bandit 2, 3, and then those like made for cable TV movies. And I really feel like that's something that we need to address at some point somewhere that's not in the official canon of,
No.
no.
Jason Tron writes an article or writes a column for RMC.
I'm not sure that it's it may be monthly. Yeah, it's in the back next to like Otto's editorial.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, he does interesting things because he gives some insights into the kind of the business or manufacturing side. Like that whole story was on, gee, why aren't there train sets? I have a company, I should do something about this. And then the logistics of looking at, how could you get a good locomotive and good this and trying to make the price points. And I think he mentioned, I don't know which major retailer, if it was, I say Walmart, but I'd have to look at the article again, where he did get a meeting with someone and, they're shooting the prices of, well, here's what we pay for that. Here's what we'd want to sell it for. And then you've got the age issues that, a lot of HO in scale, say 14 years and older. And so it's like, well, that's a limiting factor there that they want to be able to sell it to younger. And which is one of the things about the two Lionel HO sets that are reviewed. Lionel sets have 8 years and older. And in looking at them, when you try to think what hits an age point that, okay, you can't give that to a little kid or it's, considered this or that. I've always thought maybe it's the couplers or, the track connectors. And Lionel has that magnetic roadbed track. So it has no hooks, no like rail joiners. There's nothing there that's sharp. And I don't know if that's what did it for them because the cars have knuckle couplers. But I thought it was neat that those Lionel sets say 8 years and older.
And they're HO, you said?
They're HO. This is Lionel's HO line that's kind of been developing and coming along. The two sets that I reviewed are the nickel plate fast freight with a nickel plate road Berkshire and nickel plate freight cars. And then the Army hospital train that has a Santa Fe steam locomotive and like Army medical passenger cars as the set. And those were announced. They came out in the fall of 2020 and they were announced almost a year before. And I had ordered them from Train World because as this group of new Lionel HO was coming out, being a collector, I always look at those old catalogs and think, man, wouldn't it be cool if I could have bought this, this, and this? So as this new batch of Lionel HO came out, I kind of decided, hey, let's make sure I get some samples of the various things. So it's not that, well, 10 years later, you think, boy, I wish I would have gotten one of those when they were out, but I didn't. So yeah, that was excited to see those. And they're great sets.
Do these companies, you say you bought them from Train World, and these companies aren't interested in supplying you with something to...
Oh, no, they do. I mean, yeah, the other, again, there's some things, a lot, that's the odd thing about it's both a job being the editor of the magazine, but then the reason I am is because I was always a railroad enthusiast and model railroader. And so, some of those things you buy the things that you want,
right?
Because you never know what's going to, again, something might sell out and they don't have a sample to supply, or so you still end up buying all sorts of things. And a lot of things I don't have the time to, I see a lot of things that come to you think, oh, I'd really like to have that. I need to buy it because there's no way I can review that. I got to keep it moving to somebody else to do. But these are ones I just happened to have bought, and they came in right in time that I could squeeze them into the December issue. So it's like, well, I'm going to go ahead and do those.
So the Army set includes a 284 steam locomotive. So do you ever actually take any of these things out of the box and try them, or?
Well, I did because I reviewed them. Yes, I put the track together. And yeah,
well, don't get Have you never watched 60 Minutes?
Oh, are these the tough questions?
Yeah, it's like just imagine me as Mike Wallace.
Oh,
well, you bought the train set. Why wouldn't you take this train set out of the box?
And that is,
You say you purchased this. Did you actually purchase it? Do you have a receipt? Why
and I,
wouldn't you
yeah,
take the?
yeah,
And then
yeah,
you stumble a
yeah.
lot.
I see that. Yeah, I mean, okay, yeah. And I do get, as you know, on the fans of the Modeler's Life page and stuff, I do get some teasing over that.
So okay, so you bought the set and you take it out and
I actually took them out of the box, yes, for both photography and set them up and, test them out. So, yeah.
it says it's a 42 by 60-foot oval of Magnalock track. So what is Magnalock exactly?
I mean, just to look at it once it's set up, it looks a lot like, either Cato's Unitrack or Bachman's Easy Track or like Atlas has, Walthers has, about everybody has one of these systems now. But what is interesting about it, and there's pictures in this issue that show the pieces, as I say, there's no connection to them, and there's really nothing to put them together because it's a magnet embedded in the roadbed on each of the end pieces. So literally, as you lay them down close enough to each other, they just click and they're there. The current is fed through the roadbed. There's no rail connectors on the rails, and the way the magnets line up, the rails line up, because that was my thought of, well, how with no rail joiners and it's just a magnet holding, like, how do you line up and keep the track lined up? And boom, it works, and it works surprisingly well. I mean, it's a really neat little system, and that's something Lionel designed for themselves for this line.
Lionel's one of those companies. I've always been coincidentally, I've always been fond of the name of that company.
Huh. Yeah.
Lionel, big difference. I'm Lionel. It's Lionel.
Before I knew you, how I had to explain that, because you would have people that didn't know trains that would say, "Is it Lionel?" And it's like, no, Lionel is George and Wheezy's son on the Jeffersons. Lionel is who makes toy trains.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Lionel Washington. So I mean, for them to go to the trouble of, do you have any idea? Like, do you have any sense at all of how many of these sets they might make? Not just the Army set, but in general, these, like you say, they developed the Magnalock track, so they must have it must be a fairly good return on investment for them to go to the trouble of developing something that sounds actually really slick for an 8-year-old guy on a Christmas morning. It sounds like it goes together pretty darn easy.
Oh, it certainly does. And yeah, I think that kind of shows this commitment they have this time in HO. They also have that handheld Lion Chief remote, and it's a large blue remote control unit that has like a steam locomotive driver knob wheel that does the direction and the speed. And then below it are 3 buttons for like headlight, bell, and horn or whistle. And again, they're all large buttons. I found it very easy to work with. It's like the big remote I have for my VCR. So it was easy for me to do. So I know it would be easy for a kid to do too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and these, by the way, are, if you're thinking, well, it's just a toy, know that Berkshire is DCC in sound. So you can take it, put it on a regular layout, and if you've got like an NCE or Digitrax or whoever system, yeah, it calls right up. It's a real DCC sound equipped locomotive. So yeah, it's a toy, but it's not a toy.
And it's $349 list.
And that's, when you think about it, it's not a bad price. That Berkshire's drive, in looking at it, it looks every bit as nice and good as some of the high-end like Proto steam engines, the Bachmann Spectrum steam engines. I mean, it's, again, impressive piece. All the cars have metal wheels. They have Lionel's own metal knuckle couplers. It's a fun line. They really seem to have a good handle on combining both that fun, as well as some value there, that it's not crazy priced.
Crazy question. Interesting question. Do you know where Lionel's headquarters are now?
Aren't they out east, like in North Carolina?
Yeah, because I believe they now own they own the rights to all of NASCAR's. They're the official die-cast car builder for NASCAR too. So.
Oh wow! Yeah, I have them on Performance Drive in Concord, North Carolina.
Yep, that would be correct.
Wow.
Yeah, and so it's again full circle. All the little not the little. They're fairly. I think they're not 143rd. They might be 124th.
Hmm.
scale cars, the die-cast cars that people purchase. I'll have Lionel on the side. You gotta love stuff that has the name Lionel on it.
That is very cool.
Yeah.
I came close. My name's Tony, and if I'd have had some input in it with my folks, obviously I'd have picked Tycho as my name.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
So I know exactly where you're coming from. That is totally cool. And yeah, there's many a night that as I'm going to sleep, I'm thinking, man, if only.
Yeah, if only.
But yeah.
Well, on the plus side, you were not named Tycho, but you're also not named Toby. Toby's a great name for anybody out there. Any Tobys out there, it's a great name.
That is a great name. That was one of. Now I can't think of the other. Maybe the other kid was Billy in the first couple seasons of the Doris Day show, and she had Denver Pyle as Buck, her dad. One of her kids is Toby. Then I always remember from I think the Mickey Mouse Club, they had Toby Tyler and the circus or something about a kid that ran away and joined the circus.
Yeah. So
those are the famous Tobys I can think of, as well as Toby Keith, the country singer. Right?
I can remember your mom and dad. I can imagine your mom and dad with a coin. Okay, heads it's Toby, tails it's Tony.
I'll ask him. It could be. Yeah. Do you want to put some money on that? I could ask, and we could see who had which name.
Yeah. I'd be interested to find out if Toby was ever in the running.
I'll look into that.
So both sets are $349. Both sets, as you say, are DCC. Does it just plug into the wall in a way? Like, is it very, very simple to set up? Aside from the track is just really easy to set up. Does it like just plug into the wall or something or what?
Exactly. It has like the wall mount power pack. So you plug it in, it comes down and it hooks into a piece of the track, has like a little connector port, as you'd be familiar with on regular train sets, and it plugs in, and then the Lion Chief remote is battery powered. So you put a couple batteries in it, and you can also, Lionel has an app. You can download the Lion Chief system on an app so that you can control like on a smart device. Wow. So if you're a parent and you're getting tired of the kid, whether it's the whistle, the bell, whatever, you could also have it on your phone, so you could mute them anytime you wanted to.
That is cool. So how do you, aside from what you see here on the website, do you ever like get in contact with the company if you have any questions, or how do you determine all these things? Do you just simply go by what you find on the internet, or?
I think the person I deal with the most has been Ryan Kunkel.
Okay.
In the last few years, and he's done videos like with Train World. I think he now does a workbench. Everybody's got a show now.
Everybody's got a show.
And some people may say this is, the COVID thing led to all these virtual events, but I think it was a Modeler's Life podcast that started this desire we all have to have a show now. Yeah. And like Lionel, I think, has two shows. I think Ryan does a workbench show, like Workbench Wednesdays, where he's building and working on things. And then there's another guy at Lionel that does like a demonstration on Monday where they show new models. So I think Lionel does 2 shows a week now, and you can find those like on their Facebook page.
Oh, on their Facebook page. Let me just see what.
I think so. I think it's, if you go to Lionel's Facebook, it's probably on their YouTube channel too, as so many things are simulcast.
Yeah. Have you ever thought of, possibly hooking up with somebody like a Ron Marsh or something and getting more of your face out there on the
that's an interesting idea. I was in radio broadcasting, and one of the reasons I went into that is I had so many people tell me I had a face for radio. And so now, I don't know. I guess I'd have to think about it. Maybe. Yeah.
Okay. So here's their Facebook page. Their Facebook page is very simply Lionel Trains since 1900. Let's see if there's videos. See what they got. Workbench Wednesdays. Demos with Dave. Okay. So it looks like the 2 shows are Workbench Wednesdays and Demos with Dave. Does that sound right?
Yeah, I think so. And they do regular, like when they have a new catalog or new products, that they do special, event type things where they'll talk about an announcement of something new. But those are their regular shows.
We got, and there's, you and I need to interview one of these guys.
I can't believe we never have. But yeah, I don't think we have.
And what's the fellow's name that you deal with?
Ryan Kunkel.
Okay, so he's one of the...
And it's spelled almost like Knuckle Coupler.
Okay, and he's the Workbench Wednesday guy.
Well, I mean, I think he actually has more of a title like, director of product something or another, but you could say Workbench Wednesday guy. That's
Yeah.
probably not on his business card, or signature of his email. But there
Well,
you go.
when we do a when we do an interview with him, I'll just simply say, "So, are you the Workbench Wednesday guy?"
I know that would no doubt probably impress him. Yes.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I'm looking at one of their sets now, and they're excited about the headlight, and it's a red and silver set. It's the new Christmas Light Express set. Wow, look at okay, so the box cars and everything have lights on them, so it's a Christmas train, and looks like it's in the 027. Do they still call it 027?
I don't know if they do. I know they call it O gauge, and then they have the stuff that is, because O gauge tends to be built kind of more to the models. They'll compress things, or they not necessarily to scale. So the things that truly are 1/48th proportion, I think they call lion scale. And but yeah, I don't know that I see 027 as much. Like it seems like in this maybe 60s, 70s, you'd see that as like the catalog headline, Lionel 027 for 1974 or something. Yeah.
All right, that's a project for us for next year. We got to get.
We'll have to work on it. Yeah, definitely. I'll write that down.
All right, so we got two Lionel sets that you're very impressed with. You on a scale of 1 to 10, where would they fit in? How many? What's the number you'd give them?
The thing I like about both, but they hit both things for me in that being a collector of HO scale, they're so cool that especially the nickel plate where all the equipment, all the cars in the freight train were decorated for nickel plate. So to me, on the collector side, I really liked it. But then on the other side, doing the review as an idea of this would be a gift, a Christmas type thing, I was so impressed with the track set, the ability to control the train with the Lion Chief remote or their app, the durability of it, that everything was well put together, that, yeah, it hits too really well, because there's a lot of things like, well, that's more of a collector thing. That's not something you'd really buy to give to a kid. And no, I thought it really hit both. So I give very high marks to whether you're an adult modeler who likes to collect stuff and wants to put one of those sets on the shelf, or, if you're looking for a gift for a kid, that now it hits both very well.
It'd be perfect for our regular AML or contributor, Jeff Brigham. He's always taking stuff to work. And he could set one of these up in his cubicle at work. That'd be perfect. All right. So now, and you bought 2 sets from Menards, or you got 2 sets from Menards?
I got 2 sets from Menards, and they also came in at the very last minute. I had talked to them a number of times. I knew what the sets were that were coming, that they, for the last handful of years, have had Bachmann do HO starter sets that are sold exclusively through Menards. And they are kind of your typical one is a circle of track with an F unit, a couple of freight cars and caboose. The other is a little more elaborate set with an oval track plan, a GP40. I think it has like 3 freight cars instead of 2, a caboose, telephone poles, signs, figures. So it's kind of the more up one. The base set sells for about $100. The other set sells for about $150, and they've done them, as I say, the last few years. And what makes them exclusive is Bachmann will do road names that they don't offer in their regular line. So like this year, the Iron Mountain set from Menards has a Milwaukee Road F unit and caboose that you can't get in Bachmann's regular line. The other one is a Thunderhawk that has a Santa Fe red and silver Jeep 40 that Bachmann has offered before, but I think it's not in anything else this year, so it's exclusive to Menards. The Milwaukee set I was really looking forward to because it's that, kind of tan or brown with the black top and bottom and Milwaukee Road on the side. And I thought that'd be really cool. And then it has a wide vision caboose that comes with it. And those I had put them in the magazine leading up to the holiday issue. I knew they were coming, but I kept checking with my guy at Menards, and it's like, no, we don't have them yet. And literally, like the Tuesday that I would hand off the December issue to go to press, like 2 or 3 days before, he said, they're landing in stores. You can go pick them up at a store. And so they set it up to where I went up to the St. Joe, Missouri location, and the manager had a sample of each there for me. So basically, that's about as quick as anything gets into a magazine.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, no kidding. And you had to do the pictures and the write-up and the whole 9 yards.
Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, I brought them home and just started doing all that because I basically had like a day or two before the magazine went to press. So yeah, it was very close.
What?
Those are nice sets because, Bachmann has over the years They have their easy track roadbed system, and it has that. So it's got the steel alloy Code 100 rails with the black molded plastic base that all snaps together. The fun thing about it, the way it all holds together, you could basically put like a couple of hooks up, say on a wall in a basement or garage, and you could leave that oval or circle track plan together and just hang it up on the wall and then put it back down when the kids wanted to play with it, and then put, the train stuff back in a box.
Right.
It's all plug and play. There's no, everything is connected with, there's like a mini headphone jack that plugs into a handheld throttle that then goes into the track, and then it has another port out of the track that goes into a wall-mounted power pack. So no screws or screwdrivers or wires or getting anything any certain way. Everything just plug and play. You can have the set up and running in about 5 minutes, literally.
Okay, I've been looking through the Menards train sets. Did you say it's the Thunderhawk set?
Thunderhawk and Iron Mountain are this year's, and I think you'll probably see last year I think they had a Pennsylvania F unit set, and they had a Chicago and Northwestern Jeep 40 set, which, I think it got past me. And there were some still around at the beginning of this season, and I kept saying, man, I should pick one of those up. And now the last time I've looked, I don't see them anymore. And again, that neat yellow Chicago Northwestern was a Menards exclusive that I will have to start looking for.
It's the Thunderhawk set features 68-piece Thunderhawk freight train set. Has everything you need to start your own railroad. So it's got like telephone poles and buildings and street signs and assorted figures. Wow, and a 47 by 38 oval of snap track. So it's got everything. It's got everything you need to start your own little model railroad. That's perfect, eh?
And, Menards a lot of the times, too, has their 11% off is kind of a running deal. They do quite a bit where you go in, whatever you buy. I mean, you could be buying nails, trash bags, socks, whatever, and a train set. You take your receipt, and then up at the service counter, they've got a little card that you then fill out your name and address, put the receipt in that in an envelope, mail it to them in Wisconsin. They'll send you back a check for 11% of that then you can use at the store. So,
okay, so like 11% in Menards money.
Exactly. So I almost always have, because I end up there quite a bit, have a Menards check coming, and it doesn't seem like a lot, but when you look at it, it does. Yeah.
I think the next time I come for a visit to the MRN World Headquarters, I don't think it would. I think it wouldn't be a fun thing for us to do for you to take me to Menards.
We definitely should. Yeah, most definitely. And as I say, I think it's so awesome and worth supporting that a home improvement center like that does so much with trains. They have a whole line of ready assembled HO scale buildings. They do vehicles. They do tons of O-gauge box cars and freight cars and train sets there too. I mean, again, it's awesome to see that support in the hobby, from a company like that.
It's an incredible price, eh? $133. So did you take this one out of the box and try it?
I did. In fact, I still have the one of them I just put away the other day, but the Milwaukee set I still had out because I was thinking, man, I need to get that back in the box.
And did they run pretty good?
Oh yeah, no, they're the all-wheel drive, all-wheel pickup. They've got knuckle couplers, working headlights. Yeah, they're very nice pieces. The Milwaukee set has a F7A, and then the other is a GP40 is the unit.
Yeah, and $133 after you get your rebate. Man, you can't beat that. And the Milwaukee, the Iron Mountain set's only $88. Now, I guess it doesn't come with all the...
It's got a circle of track. Yeah, the big difference there is the track plan is a little smaller. It's a circle. It has one less freight car, and it does not have that, there's 50 pieces to the figures, telephone poles, and sign set. But still, right out of the box, you've got, power pack, throttle, circle of track, and everything to get going. And that Bachmann Easy Track is one of the biggest lines of roadbed track, so you can add turnouts and different size curves and you name it.
And where's the best place for somebody, if somebody buys one of these train sets, where do you think the best place, like Train World or Midwest? Would Midwest sell this stuff? Midwest model?
I mean, Midwest wouldn't have the Menards because it was exclusive.
I mean the Easy Track.
Oh, yeah. Midwest carries, all those kind of accessories there in Independence, Missouri. Okay. Train World carries all that stuff too. So, yeah, any hobby shop can get you And I think Menards, I even see that they carry a little bit of that, which is neat to see as well. That not just train sets, but they do support with some of the track sections.
And if you buy it, you get and you fill it out, you get $11 in Menards money.
What a deal! What a deal! Then you can get your own squeaky chicken for your dog.
yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing. My $11, I'm buying a squeaky chicken. Chicken for Bandit.
Oh, you ought to see him, though. When those chickens show up, I mean, you think it's nothing, but when I walk in the door, I've got those white Menards bags, and he's running in circles, wagging his tail. What'd you bring me? What'd you bring me? When that chicken pops up out of the bag, I mean, it's on. And away he goes, and then suddenly I have some room of the house is covered in chicken stuffing. So
the dog, one dog I have, Lucy, never in her life. You bring something like that home, and she'd look at it, and it's like at any age, she likes to go for a walk, and that's about the extent of her physical activity. She'll run, she chases squirrels, but no toys, chasing a ball, swimming, nothing, none of that stuff. It's just like, no, that's for dogs. I'm not a dog. What do I look like? I'll chase a squirrel. She'll chase a squirrel, and I always think to myself, what would you ever do, Lucy, if one of those squirrels stumbled and you actually caught it?
Yeah, we have some showdowns in the front yard with the squirrels.
Yeah.
And I think they really tease the dog. I see them, they get up just high enough on a tree or a telephone pole that he can't get to them. And you can see them kind of wagging their tail like, I know you can't get any closer than that. And so, there's times I want to go over there and just kind of lift the dog up a few feet and go, here you go.
Yeah, well, and the Chiweenie isn't much bigger than the squirrel anyways.
No, that's true. So it could be a pretty even fight.
Yeah. All right, what's next? So we've done 2 train sets from Lionel, and we've done Lionel, and we've done 2 train sets from Menards, Bachmann train sets. So we've 349 for Lionel, and would you say, quality-wise, obviously the Lionel sets are they're DCC for starters, and are they just more? Not that there's anything wrong with the Menards Bachmann sets, but are the Lionel sets? Do they seem a little more, I don't know, hefty, better built? Not better built necessarily, but a little more hefty, a little more detail.
I think it's more the steam locomotive.
Okay,
steam is always more expensive than a diesel,
right?
It seems like, and so that 284 Berkshire probably boosts the bottom line of that train set versus and again, as you say, it's DCC sound. Menards, that is just a standard DC deal, so there's probably another, as you know, it's about $100 difference between a standard DC versus a DCC sound locomotive.
And we ought to get this for Spoon.
As I did the Milwaukee one, I just kept thinking that, man, I need to buy one of these and see where's the nearest, because you can, if you don't have a Menards near you, they will mail order, and you can have things delivered either with a shipping fee, like to your address, or if you do have a store and they don't happen to have something in stock, they'll ship it to the store and you can pick it up with no shipping. So I kept thinking, I ought to have one of those sent to wherever in Wisconsin would be closest Menards to Spoon, and tell him, hey, you got something to go pick up at the customer service counter.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so up next is...
The next one we've got is another Bachmann, but we're going to go to N-scale. And this was done by Wesley James and his 2 sons. And I met them, when was I out? I was out for Jim Sacco asked me to speak at, I think it was an NMRA event in Pittsburgh.
Right, yes.
A few years ago,
the Jamboree, that's
it. Yes, exactly. I was going to say it had a name. It wasn't like a clinic or convention. Yeah, the NMRA Jamboree for, I guess, that western part of Pennsylvania or whatever. I forget what division it is. But I ran into, I met a lot of people there that day, but one of them was a guy into older HO, and his name was Wesley James, and he's been reviewing for me since. He's got 2 young boys, and they're all into model railroading. And so he's a great person to really get a hands-on experience for this. And I asked him this year, I said, are your boys getting old enough now? Do you think that N-scale would be something they could do? Because I remember meeting them. This is, it's probably going on 5 years ago. And you don't think about it, but with little kids, suddenly they go from, 7 to 12 to boom, boom, boom fast. And I said, would they be old enough to do N-scale? He said, oh, yeah, I think so. And so the Bachmann sets this year added DCC and sound as part of the features for the starter sets. And I sent them Bachmann's in-scale Roaring Rails digital sound set, which has a BNSF GP40, 2 cars and a caboose. There's also a whistle stop special with a steam locomotive, a little 460 that also has DCC and sound is the other sound and digital equipped. Because Bachmann has done some DCC sets before with their easy DCC command throttle, but this is the first year that there have been sound-equipped in-scale train sets. And they reviewed the one with the GP40 and the Cars, the Roaring Rails set, and had a real fun time with it, it looks like.
That's cool.
Now, that set, it carries a retail of $449.
Holy mackerel.
Well, but, the Bachmann stuff gets a lot of discounting. Like, if you'd looked at, I don't know, I don't have that in front of me, but if you looked it up at Train World and such, I think you'd be surprised to see it sells at a much more competitive price for that. So never be put off by looking at the retail, on Bachmann's items. That there's probably a good chance you can find it for a good, better price.
All right, I'm gonna go while you're talking. I'm gonna put in Bachmann Roaring Rails, and then I'm gonna put in Train World.
Yeah, let's see what Ken Bianco Jr. is selling that for.
Yeah, Bachmann Train World Bachmann 24132 Roaring Rails train set. Okay, is selling for $269.
See, wow, look at that! And what I said, it was $449. I mean, and that's a great price at Train World for sure. But yeah, definitely, as I say, so don't ever look and think, oh wow, well I'll look for some. No. Always do some shopping. But it's a fun set. Everything has metal wheels, knuckle couplers. Bachmann makes their easy track roadbed system for in scale, so it's got a gray roadbed track, with the rails and everything. Again, same as with those Bachmann made Menard sets. No wiring. You've got a black wire that plugs into the back of the Easy Command that has the wall mount power that you just plug into an outlet in your house. Then you've got a red cable that plugs into the Easy Command that goes down and hooks into like the re-railer section of the track. And the amount of time I took to explain it is about how long it would take to plug it in and start it up. So doesn't get easier than that.
The Roaring Rails features a DCC sound. I'm reading this off the Train World site. Roaring Rails features a DCC sound-equipped GP40 with a diesel sound package that includes prototypical prime mover, 3 air horns, a bell, all in polyphonic, 16. That sounds like something. And
polyphonic.
Polyphonic, okay. Lionel, whatever. Potato. Polyphonic 16-bit sound that you can control with our Easy Command digital control system. The digitally controlled train set with features of these boxcar gondola, wide vision caboose, Easy Command control center, body mounted easy mated couplers, and 34 by 24 inch oval. Easy Track. I don't really know much about Easy Track.
It's introduced in the early 1990s and really was the first of the contemporary attempts that then made that a standard. And when you think about it, and I've had more people say, how come that was never around when I was a kid? Like when I had Lifelike or Tyco or Bachmann sets back in the day in the 60s, 70s, 80s, you just had the brass track that was hard to keep it together. If you didn't have it nailed down on a board, the brass oxidized. Like, why did it take them so long to come up with this great track idea? And, the funny thing is, and it's a story that we're collecting samples and doing things together for HO Collector Quarterly for the future. There were, Gilbert had one, Marks had one. There were a handful of roadbed track systems in like the 50s. And it does make you wonder, why did that idea never stick? Because it's such a great, that's one of the biggest problems with the average train set was the rail joiners after a few attempts start to get a little weak in the connection. Yeah. They get loose, and if you don't have it nailed down, keeping the track sections together is a challenge. And yet with these systems, you can put them on the floor, on a table, any place if you don't have a regular layout set up. So you do have to wonder. But yeah, there were a handful of them in the 50s, but it's not until Cato's Unitrack in the mid 80s comes out of Japan in both N scale and later HO, but Kato wasn't really big in the North American market till the early 90s. So I think Bachman's Easy Track was the one that really took hold. And, now there's like Lifelike Walters has Power Lock, True, what is Atlas is called? True something is Atlas's with Code 83 rail. And then, of course, Kato has Code 83 rail on their Unitrack. So there's tons of them now, and they are all fantastic. In fact, Kato Unitrack is what I use for my test loop at Model Railroad News, because I can put in, whether I need N scale or HO, I can just put it up on the board, test the locomotive, then take it all apart and flip to the other scale.
Wow. It just, I mean, there's a lot of companies making a lot of train sets, putting a lot of work into making these train sets. There's got to be a market out there for them, or else they wouldn't be making them at all.
I would agree, yeah. And somebody that's gotten some new sets this year, the sixth and final set that we have to look at is from our friends up in Milwaukee at Walthers.
But wait, there's more?
There's more. We have one more neat set, and this was also reviewed by the Pennsylvania boys, the James family, the James gang. They did the Walthers train line Y-Flyer Express. And it, as you would think from the name, it's got a DCC sound-equipped Jeep 15, the Walthers train line model, 3 freight cars and a caboose, an oval of the Power Lock track system, which Walthers just redid with nickel silver rail and gray roadbed. And then it operates from a tablet, a computer, or a smart device, that it has a little blue box that connects to the track and to your wall-mounted power system. And then you can use your phone, your iPad to control the train with an app that you can download, from Walthers for free, and then set it up and run it. And you would instantly have anybody that's got a phone, and a lot of the kids have phones now too, can then be all running DCC locomotives of their own on a railroad. So you have like an instant DCC system that is all coming from the fact that you're using your smartphones with the Walthers, the little blue Wi-Fi train controller. And it's a really nice set. And they come in a very nice packaging. Walthers did a nice job with, it's got like a little plastic handle on the top, and the 2 sides slide together with 2 foam sections inside that everything, the track, the power, that control system, the models all slide into pieces. So it's got a good like carrying case thing so the kids could take it with them somewhere, to show their friends. And that Y-Flyer Express, the James guys reviewed a really nice red Canadian Pacific one.
Right.
And then it's also available. It's available in a handful of road names. There's BNSF, I think maybe Union Pacific, Conrail, and then all have like the same 3 freight cars in them. So there's plenty of road names available too.
And it is $299.98.
That's its retail. So see, that's very nicely priced for DCC sound.
You know what I find very odd? I mean, you're a man of the world. Perhaps you could answer this question for me. But how is it possible that it's $299.98? Like, how did they manage to knock those 2 cents off? Like, why not just say it's $3? Like, they came out, they manufactured it, it came in, and it came in at $300, or
right.
And somebody says, you know what? Let's knock 2 cents off that and call it $299.98.
I think it's a perception marketing deal, as I remember from my college days. Yeah, that's you're looking at price points of what's more attractive to somebody. Would you pay $20 for this, or does $19.99 sound? And somehow or another, there's that perception of, oh yeah, I'd take it for that, but I wouldn't give you $20 for it. Like, well,
so yeah. It's all marketing then.
It's all that kind of thing, yeah.
And here's me thinking that it was just, they knocked 2 cents off.
We can ask. That would be a question to jot down, that we do need to do an interview sometime with Stacey Walthers.
Yeah, we do.
You could ask her, like, what is that? Is there do they really come out to that? And how is it that all of your products come out to 98 cents at the end? Like,
yeah.
How have you done that? I don't know. That just amazes me. And maybe she may have a different answer than what I gave you. So
yeah, now we're gonna have to do that. Yeah, because I did interview her once at an NMRA train show,
I was there. I think that was Kansas City.
Okay, that's right. It was.
I think I was just standing there holding the floor down, but yeah, I was present. Yeah,
That's right. And I remember asking her about the HO scale liquid manure pit.
which I think you now have gotten samples of.
Yeah.
From the great folks at Faller in Europe. So, but for a while, that was like hen's teeth to come up with.
Well, I think our buddy Stephen Atwell has 4 of them for me somewhere floating around in the store, and he never.
Does he still?
Yeah, I got to get him to send them to me.
Yes, because when I'm there, I remember when I saw those one time, it caught my eye. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's that silly Faller manure pit that Lionel wants. And then I happened to see like a little Post-it note that said Strang on the side. I'm like, wow, it even has Lionel's name on it. And it's like, oh, I guess he must have ordered those.
Yeah. So okay, so where do you rate this one then? So we got a lot of varying price. I can't find it on Train World for some reason.
Well, I think they do sell Walthers, and I know that Midwest Model Railroad in Independence. What is Midwest's actual? Is it? It's like Midwest.
It's MidwestModelRR.com.
That's it. MidwestModelRR.com, and they carry Walthers products too. But you'll find it at most a lot of hobby dealers, especially, will have that because they carry a lot of Walthers products.
Now, if you were wanting to get a AML T-shirt, a Modeler's Life T-shirt, hoodie, mug, or hat, where would you go?
That apparently is the place, and Shane Mason and I were at their new store in the last week, and I forgot to ask or see where the AML boutique was. I assume you have something set up with like mannequins and like yeah. Boom. So I figured it'd be like Neiman Marcus or something, and I'd be taken somewhere, and maybe they'd sit Shane and I down and ask if we want any coffee or tea, and people would come out and twirl around showing their AML shirts, and I thought, I'll take that in a 3X, yeah, so I forgot. We got busy, and I forgot to ask, but I will on our next trip.
I think I found it here on the Train World site. I guess I should be looking on the Midwest site, shouldn't I? Yeah, but here it is. It's $169 at Train World.
Ooh, that is a good price.
It is a good price. Hobby quality all-in-one train sets.
And then the thing, to put a plug in here for Model Railroad News, what I did with all of these sets, regardless of, I reviewed those couple that the Lionels I bought and the Menards that came in last minute, I did reviews of, and then the Wesley James and his sons did those others. But for all of these, I did a little sidebar, because I think a train set, is always going to somebody that's maybe a beginner model railroader, whether as an adult or a kid. And it always opens the questions of, well, which way does this go? Or where does this come from? Or what does this railroad mean? Or where do they go? And so I think a train set opens the door for that interest in both prototype railroads and more about model railroads. So with each of these sets in the December issue of Model Railroad News, you'll find a little gray box sidebar called Beyond the Box, where I give some information or tips kind of for the dad or the grandfather or the gift giver that, here's what you run with next once you have the train set up and they start asking, well, what was the nickel plate? Or were there Army hospital trains? Or where does the Canadian Pacific run? That I give that information, like on the nickel plate, I suggest the Nickel Plate Society and the Nickel Plate Road magazine, and I give some information on like where one of the Berkshires is that's on display. For that Army train, the NMRA has on their website, I have it in front of me here, Dr. Michael Fleming did United States Army hospital trains, and it is available as a free download. It was a Piedmont Division timetable publication article, and it shows the green cars with the red and white medical cross symbol on them, and explains the prototypes that there really were Army medical transport trains. So you can go and download that. For the Canadian Pacific, I show their map. I mentioned this is a great way that if you're not familiar with our neighbors to the north, that you can see the 5 provinces of Canada. You find out the roads that Canadian Pacific was involved in the U.S. Their website has a timeline for the railroad, and I show some things off the website there to kind of open the door and show that interest. Same for the Santa Fe and Milwaukee things. from Menards, the historical societies, a map of the Santa Fe system I have there, that Milwaukee has a really late era paint scheme, and I show 2 earlier paint schemes. That way you could kind of suggest, this is how they were at the end of the F units' lives. F units come out, around 1940, and here's what they look like when they were new. So there's some neat things that I kind of put in there to, kind of take it beyond just, okay, here's a circle of track, here's the controller, have at it. I'm going to go get another piece of pumpkin pie. That, because that to me was always, at least as a kid, that's the thing I remember a lot with my dad on anything, models, books, magazines, whatever he would bring in would suddenly be that question of, okay, well, you say this is an Alco, and the stuff we see in town a lot is EMDs. What is Alco? I'm not familiar with it. Oh, they were in Schenectady, New York, and they were a big steam locomotive and then he'd have, books or information, or he'd say this railroad or that railroad that you're familiar with owned Alcos or used to. So I always felt like whether it was a model, a book, whatever topic, would open this whole world of, so I know the Santa Fe is really famous, but, I'm a 6-year-old kid. I don't know anything. They're the Super Chief, right? And red and silver locomotives. Did they run on everything? No, that was a passenger scheme. Where did they run? Again, kind of gives you that whole, don't just give a train set saying, well, there you go, I've shared model railroading. Well, that's only half the job. Now the other half is, hey, let's go watch some trains, or let me explain to you what a Jeep 40 is. That's what you're holding in your hand. That's a lot of the fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That was a lot of information. You packed in a lot of information there. Man,
so
drive time radio right there, man.
I'll have weather and traffic right after this.
Yeah. So, okay. So, all right. So you search out all this stuff and you include it in the articles. And how long does it take you to, hour-wise, how long does it take you to write an article? Like how many pages will this take up? How many pages is Model Railroad News each month, roughly?
Well, it's 100 pages total.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
Okay. Well,
but I mean, there's advertisements in there, and, I got news announcements, and I write those, but I've never actually looked and counted how many, if you took out the advertising and like the dealer directory in the back, I don't know how many pages are actually like editorial side to fill.
Okay, but the whole magazine is 100 pages. You seem a little you seem a little testy about this.
Oh, no.
Yeah, you do.
Do I? Oh, no.
Yeah,
no.
It's like, well, it's 100 pages total. Okay.
Okay. Well, that's what I was starting with. But I don't really do 100 pages because, there's.
Well, you're the editor, aren't you?
Well, I do, but
you oversee the entire. If there's a mistake on page 87, whether it's in an advertisement or editorial, they're going to be pointing the finger at you.
Sort of. Yeah. I mean, not probably on the, the advertisement is handled by someone else and they check that off, but I do lay the ads into the magazine. But
let me put it to you this way. If I'm reading a page 87, I'm reading page 87. It's late at night. I'm in bed. I've got my MRN with me. I'm leafing through it, and I come across something incorrect, an incorrect spelling in an ad on page 87. You're the guy I'm calling. You're the guy I'm writing the nasty email to, saying, why can't you spell Burlington correctly? Like, I don't really care what who all is behind you. You're the guy. You're the editor.
Right. I know. Yeah, the buck stops there.
Yeah. I don't want you coming out of the cockpit saying, well, I really don't know how to land this thing because I was told that the stewardess was or the stewardess. Now I'm really in trouble.
Now you're
flight attendant.
Wow,
oh my God.
Stewardess. I'm seeing Jacqueline Bisset in the airport from 1970. Yeah, no. Flight attendant. Yeah.
That was a great movie, Airport.
That's a great film. Oh my gosh, yeah. Dean Martin is the pilot.
Yeah.
Burt Lancaster's the head of the airport. Yeah.
Which one was the one with Ephraim Zimbalist, though?
That's Airport 75.
That was the next one?
That's the second one, yeah. Second one, Airport 1975, with Ephraim Zimbalist as the pilot, Roy Finesse as the co-pilot, Eric Estrada as the radio man.
And
And
it wasn't that. Well, that was the one with Charlton Heston, wasn't it? Or was that the?
yeah, no, that's Charlton Heston ends up getting dropped into the plane and lands it in Salt Lake.
Yeah. But the first guy, whatever happened to that first? They never even did. They even bother looking for that first guy they tried to drop into the plane.
I mean, well, that, and he's somebody. I'm trying to think who he is. But
really?
yeah, that guy didn't make it. Yeah, and then of course Roy Finesse is when I'm trying to think who's the guy in the Cessna that runs into the 747.
Right.
His wife is Beverly Garland. I'm trying to think who he was. Anyway, but yeah, I don't think we ever find out that would have been the made-for-TV sequel that you didn't get to do.
So. It was it made him been DB Cooper.
Well, I saw a great Far Side for him the other day, and I can't think what it was going on, but they show a guy parachuting into, like a thing with a lake infested by piranhas, and it said like what really happened to DB Cooper. It's like, okay, that's a fun movie too, that In Pursuit of DB Cooper from about 1981, if you've ever seen that.
Yeah, they're all great. They're all Karen Black. I was never a big fan of Karen Black.
No, but she's great. She's great in that film. Yeah, as the stewardess for Columbia Airlines.
Yeah. Norman Felt. Man, it had everybody. It had Charlie.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the Sid Caesar.
Gloria Swanson.
Swanson in her last role. Myrna Loy.
Helen Reddy.
Oh, my God. Yeah, just passed away not long ago. The great Helen Reddy plays the nun sister Ruth.
Yeah.
That sings Best Friend. Yeah. To Linda Blair. Yeah.
Yeah. Sid Caesar is Barney.
Yeah.
Larry Storch is.
He played the obnoxious reporter for the Salt Lake TV station. Yeah, and of course George Kennedy, who's in all the airport films.
Yep,
is there. Yeah,
and Jerry Stiller.
Well, yes, yeah.
Now here's one: Jim Plunkett, who was the quarterback for the Oakland Raiders. He was in it, and he played himself. Now, I don't even remember what scene he was in. That Jim Plunkett was in Airport 75. What was...
I'd have to look at. I think that somebody, like one of the crew, goes past somebody sitting in, a couple of guys sitting there and says something like, "So you guys going to have a great year this year, or how are you going to get past so and so's running game?" Or I think that's the scene he's in.
Okay, Jim Plunkett as himself.
What a great movie!
Yeah, it was. Now I'm going to have to watch it.
I have to watch that too. And what's interesting about that? Just this would be one of those trick questions: is when was Airport 1975 released?
Ooh, nice one.
Because you would think, well, 75, right? Because Airport 77 and the Concorde Airport 79 are both released in those respective years, but Airport 75 actually comes out in October or November of 74.
Yeah, exactly.
And what a time for movies! At that time, you could go to a theater. And in release in late 74 was The Towering Inferno, Earthquake, and Airport 1975. I mean, wow.
I know.
Oh, boy. Yeah. But I digress. Where were we?
And Towering Inferno has an interesting twist to it because that's the first time that Steve McQueen and Paul Newman actually worked together. And Paul Newman actually took kind of a secondary role to Steve McQueen's role.
And if you've read the stuff on that too, one or the other counted all their lines or had somebody do that and then went to the producers to make sure that, like, if he has 146 lines, I get 146 lines.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of the movies that starts that offset billing where the one name on the left is lower than the name that's on the right, and the name on the right is up higher. So the thought being that's as equal billing as we can do to throw your names both on screen at the same time.
There's a lot of stuff to talk about. Man, you could do podcasts about just about anything. And there was never any great... well, there was Super Train.
Oh, boy, yeah.
And the whole deal of Super Train was that it was some massive piece of equipment that was like twice the size of any train.
Yeah. Broad gauge. Atomic powered.
Yeah.
New York to Los Angeles in 36 hours with a route map that changed by episode. Like in putting the 9 episodes together and marking what cities are referenced, like Chicago comes up a number of times, but like sometimes they're in Denver on one episode, but then they also go through Texas. Well, if you're going like you'd almost have to go straight south from Denver to get down into Texas, then go back west. So yeah, and there is a route map shown in one office and one thing, but my copy's not good enough that I can see what they're trying to show. But you know.
Oh my goodness gracious! All right, well I think we've covered just about everything we need to cover.
But there you go. Yeah, there's great. I mean, if you don't have your list for Santa Claus put together after what we've set out for you here, there's no hope for you.
Yeah, exactly. We have run the entire gamut. We have Lionel. We have at 349. We have which is a steam engine. We have the Army train. We've
got N scale. We got HO, and of course there's O. There's other sets too, but we've hit the the big ones there. DCC and sound, standard DC. I mean, something for everyone there in a model train.
Yeah. All right. Do you want to try giving out the email address?
Oh my gosh. I can't remember, but it seems like this came up recently and I felt like I did just an absolutely miserable job of it. And I don't know how or why I did so bad.
Scott Freeman was the guy that was, oh no, that was the character who played Scott Freeman. Hang on. Let me get this here. He's got to be listed here somewhere because he was the guy flying the Cessna.
Yeah, that's his character's name.
Oh, he's not even listed. So he was like not even listed in the list of characters. Of course, he had a very small part.
Small part. Yeah, he did a lot of TV, and I think he's in a lot of old, black and white 50s. Seems like he's in some monster movies, like Tarantula or something like that.
Wow. The Helen Ruddy was nominated for a Golden Globe as Most Promising Newcomer.
How about that?
So go for it. Give that email a shot.
Oh, yes. If you'd like to drop us an email, you can do so by sending it to our Gmail account. That's modelerslife@gmail.com. That's modelers with one L, like Helen and Helen Reddy.
And not two L's like Lionel, like your Lionel train set.
Correct.
Boom. Lionel train set.
Lionel
train set. And we have a website, amodelerslife.com. If you go there and you want to send us an email, but you didn't catch that address, if you click on the picture of the moderately agitated mailboy in a particularly agitated state, boom, all you got to do is all you have to do is fill out the title and the text of the email and hit send, and it's gone.
See, it's not as easy as it sounds.
No, it's not.
So to do this email thing, it's tough.
Yeah.
I think this is a segment of the show that you could farm out to somebody.
Yeah.
You need then somebody would come in and supply that. Yeah.
Pauline Kael, Kael.
Was the New York Times?
She was the New Yorker's magazine film critic. Called the picture cut rate swill.
Man. And see right there, I'm thinking, where's my DVD and is it a Blu-ray? Yeah, I'm ready to see it. It's a great film.
Produced on a TV movie budget by mercenary businessmen.
Now, it was originally aimed at NBC. It was a Universal film that they were making for TV. Then I think when they got Charleton Heston on board, it went up to theatrical release. Yeah. What a great film.
I think we got it all covered. We talked about how to get your swag there earlier. We've talked about the website. Oh, yeah. Also on the website, if you click on a picture of Ron, you'll see a picture of Ron Marsh, who is the official videographer of the AML network. All of our how-to videos are over on Ron's YouTube channel, Ron's Trains and Things. So
he has been so busy in the last few months. I mean, fighting fires, hurricanes. I mean,
and
one-to-one scale examples of these things.
Exactly.
Not miniature ones. Yeah.
Yeah. And today I was giving him a hard time because he bonked his head while he was using his leaf blower.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe the text I sent him was something to do with everybody that owns a leaf blower should be dragged out into the forest and tied to a tree.
Why?
Because they're so friggin' noisy. And I got a neighbor across the street.
Oh, yeah.
So I actually, does this seem unneighborly? I don't think it's unneighborly. Does this seem unneighborly to you?
Well,
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Lay it out and try to put it in the most neutral light, and let's see if it's unneighborly.
So the neighbor across the street's good neighbor, been a neighbor for 20 years, and I've put up with this for many years, but he seems to have like the noisiest leaf blower on the planet, and it's like after 2.5 hours on a Sunday afternoon, they have this. I went over and I said to him, Ron, you're a good neighbor. I love having you as a neighbor, but I will pay, if you let me, I will pay next year to have somebody rake your leaves.
And he's probably disappointed because, like, well, no, I got this cool leaf blower.
Yeah.
Okay, now here's your $1 million idea, and this could get you the NASCAR or Indy spot with Menards, a silencer for a leaf blower.
Yeah.
If you could develop that, Menards could sell it. They would be so happy with you, they'd probably let you drive both cars.
Yeah, they probably would. But
here's
the thing I don't understand about leaf blowers. They don't really seem to be making a whole lot of headway. Like, it seems like, number one, I live in the same neighborhood as Ron and many other people with leaf blowers, and I have never raked one single leaf, I think, in the entire 30 plus years I've been here. I don't rake leaves. When I'm cutting the grass, I mulch them up. I let them, I don't rake leaves. And my lawn seems to be every summer seems to be just as nice as everybody else's lawn. So I don't really understand, why are we putting ourselves through this misery if there's no need to. I don't. That's what nature did. Nature grows leaves, and they drop the leaves, and the leaves go into the ground
and kind of degrade down. Yeah, because again, as you say, and it's funny you bring this up because this afternoon I heard one of my neighbors, and I'm like, what is that? And finally look out a window. I'm like, oh, it's a leaf blower.
It's probably Ron. Yeah. It was probably Ron Marsh.
Well, I don't think it was Ron Marsh. No, because he lived a little further south, and I wouldn't hear his leaf blower. I don't, unless it was really out of repair. I probably wouldn't hear his. But anyway, yeah, there was somebody doing that, and I thought, I never rake the yard, and the kid's probably done mowing this year, so it won't get done. But as you say, when spring comes around, and I don't know if maybe, people going by, everybody says, well, look, Tony never does anything with his yard. Every time you go by, put a couple of leaves in your pocket, bring them home, throw them away. Yeah. So I don't know. But again, by sometime in early spring, there's no leaves in my yard. So maybe they're worth something. I'm going to go on eBay. Maybe people are picking them up. There probably is. There's probably auctions that say, like, here's some great Northwest Missouri leaves, harvested from private yard and, 10 for $1 or something. And I've been missing out. Maybe that's why they disappear. But yeah, the whole leaf blower thing, I feel it's almost like a mule that's not going, it's like, they're back and forth, and they get a couple of inches with each back and forth. It's like, oh my gosh, no.
And you say you don't think it was Ron Marsh, but did you actually see the person using the leaf blower?
I think I did, yeah.
Because did you notice who I said my neighbor's name was?
Well, you said Ron, but I was thinking that couldn't be Ron Marsh.
I think
he's a fellow Missouri native.
I think he goes around North America with his leaf blower, just blowing leaves all to his heart's content all over North America.
But if you had a leaf blower though, and maybe it's a lot of fun. I mean, maybe that's why people do that. So It could be some game we're completely missing out on. It's like, have you ever golfed before? No. Is it fun? Oh yeah, you ought to come out and try it. Maybe a leaf blower. I don't know. When we go to Menards, we'll look at leaf blowers. We'll ask somebody about them, and we'll see. We'll try to figure this out if this is something that we've completely missed the boat, that this is like the hula hoop and we never had one. Yeah.
Leaf blowers strike me as water beds, and also the thing you do, what is it called when you're pulled along by a kite type of thing behind a power boat?
Oh, yeah. Like water skis, or the glider things.
Yeah, the glider thing, and it pulls you up, and you're behind a power boat, and it pulls you up 50 feet in the air. And I always look at those things, and I'm thinking, I can pretty much imagine what that's like. You're 50 feet in the air, and you're going across the water. It's like, I got it.
I can only remember water skiing a couple of times when I was like in high school. And all I can remember is the next day, I literally felt like, was I on a torture rack for the day? My arms and legs must be about a half a foot longer each. Wow, this hurts. And yeah, I never took to, I guess if you did it enough, you get used to it. But yeah, water skiing was not my thing.
And I always imagine, I think it's like 50, 60, 70, 80, $100 to do that thing when you're on your cruise and you go into, whatever you go island you go to. And it's like, hey, let's do the thing where we're pulled behind a powerboat. Next time you're in an office building, just go up to the 5th floor and look out. Boom. Same idea. Same idea. Only imagine it's water. All right. Are you ready?
I think I'm ready.
Okay. So remember, a Modeler's Life podcast is considered marginally adequate by 6 out of 10
first-time train set buyers.
Nice. That was well thought out.
Portions of this podcast was sponsored by Pakalana Inn. Pakalana Inn is located on the Big Island of Hawaii in historic and beautiful downtown Hilo. Our 5 bedrooms are recently renovated and feature modern conveniences of home. Every room has a view and the staff is
marginally adequate.
Check us out at pakalanainn.com.
It's another Lincoln Homer.